Hello and welcome back to Stuff in Excel. I'm Richard, and what we are doing is continuing with our series on Power BI and how to get started with Power BI. Now this is part 4 in our series. Sorry, I hit the microphone there. This is part 4 in our series. The prior 3 parts are available to you if you go to the YouTube channel, go into the playlist and look for the Power BI playlist. You will see it there. The file that we're going to be using is going to be downloadable. If you go into the description section for this video, you can download the video, the Excel file that we're using for all of this data and demonstration in this particular video. So this is part 4, and we're looking at how to create simple visualizations in Power BI. So let's just get into it. So if we look over here at our Power BI interface, we see over on the far right that we have our 3 different data files open. You remember from the previous video, we opened 3 different data files, and we also looked at how to link those in a data model. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to collapse the employees and stores. The first thing I want to do is just look at how do we create visualizations. And there's a couple of ways we can do it in Excel, or in Power BI. Now, the first way we might want to do it is we'll select the particular item that we want to do, the particular visualization we want to use, and let's just say we want to use a bar chart. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to look at all these different visualizations, I'm going to find the bar chart, and I'm going to click on it. Now it's going to create over here a blank window over on the far left of my workspace in the Power BI interface. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose what I want in here. So I want, let's put in here, let's put total sales, and let's put let's put employee number, yeah. So we'll do it by employee. Now, I don't really particularly like that. So let's go ahead and look. Now, if we look at this, I don't like the way I did it. So let's undo that. And instead, let's choose employee number first, and we're going to put that, I'm going to just drag it into this time. So you can click it or you can drag it. I'm going to drag it into that space. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag total sales into that space. And it gives me kind of a strange item. I don't really like that again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that from a bar chart to a Excel sheet. And here we go. I like this. We've got basically a pivot table, right? We've got the employee numbers and we got the employee sales right there. So that's a really nice table. We can see for each employee number, and we can actually put those employee numbers in numerical order if we wish, so that we can now find it. We've got $412 million in sales spread across all these different employees. So that's one way we can do a visualization. Now, let's look at another visualization, and in this particular visualization, let's look at units sold by employee. So this, again, what we can do this time, we just drag something onto the workspace, drag it over here, we're in sold, and then we'll just drag by employee number. And we'll do, as a matter of fact, employee, let's do it by date. But transaction date is interesting. So we gave Power BI a date, but what it does, if you look at this, I can expand the transaction date to either look at date hierarchy, and that can either be a year, a quarter, a month, or a day. So let's look at total sales units by month. So I'm going to drag month over here into that same space. And now I've got, for the 6 months that this data covers, and this data only covers 6 months, I have got the sales for those 6 months. And I can actually go in and add data labels, and we'll look at that in just a moment. But so we've got this data. Now we can also create visualizations with data from the other 2 worksheets that we have. So we can go up to employees, and we can go to stores, and we see we've got other items. So maybe what I want to do is I want to look at sales by region. So I can do that. I can click and look at total sales. I'm going to drag it over here, and I'm going to look at by region. Okay, and I've got 2 regions. I don't really like that one, so let's get the region out of there, and let's instead do it by state. Well, that's kind of cool, but and I can actually see how that's done there. I can see my different states. I can see which state is the largest, which state is the second largest, and I can see how that's done. I can also do a form. Let's go back and do a table, and we're going to do a, excuse me. So what I did there, what I accidentally did is I changed the visualization, but that particular tile was still on. So I'm going to turn that particular tile off, click in my empty space, and now I'm going to create a table. And so it's over here, and I'm going to put store number, and I'm going to put sales. Now, I can, actually, it's not sales, that's status. I want to do, let's turn that off, and we'll do total sales, which is right here. And we might actually want to also do it by employee number. So we'll click on that up here in the employees. So I've used data from each one of my 3 spreadsheets, and I now create this. Now, if you'll notice, I've got store number, sum of sales, and employee. Maybe what I'd rather have is I'd rather take store number and employee, and now I've got my different store numbers by employee. And you see, like, for instance, I've got 2 employees in store 4, 2 employees in store 5. I've got several employees in store 6, 7, store 10, 11. So I can tell for each store, I can see the number of employees I have, and I can see what the sales were for those individual employees. So that's a nice tool for me. Another type of visualization I might want to use is what's called a card. And so I'll click out of this, and I'm going to click on the card, which is down here on the bottom row with a little lightning bolt by it. And I'll click on that. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to move it up here, and I'm going to just put total sales in that. And so that tells me my total sales number. So I can do a lot of different visualizations. I might want to do a pie chart where I do total sales by region. And I can do that. And I'm going to move that one up here as well. So I've got some other visualizations I can do. Now, what if I want to change the way these visualizations look a little bit? So for example, let's click back up here on the visualization, sum of units sold by month. I want to show the total in there. So how do I do that in Power BI? Well, if we look under this visualizations, we've got a couple things under visualizations that we can do. So we've got this visualization here, actually has the visualization, allows us to do some stuff with that. But then there's a second one here that's called our formatting our visual. That's the middle one, and we can format the visual. And one of the things we can do here, for example, is we can go to data labels, and we can turn those data labels on, and now we've got our data labels indicated there. We can actually change the colors of our columns. So if we went to columns, we can actually decide to change that. Maybe we want those columns to be orange. I don't know. We don't have the opportunity really to make them all a bunch of different colors here, though we could under some other circumstances. Now this here, this is add further analysis to our visual. So we can do this, and we might want to put a constant line in here. So let's say we want to add a line, and we want that line to be, let's say we want it to be 10,000. And we hit that, and it puts that line there at 10,000. I might want it to be 50,000, and I can do that. And let's say we have a break even, and let's say the break even is 55,000. So this is interesting. We can add this data line, and we can see if our goal for each month is 55,000. We can see how March and June were actually under our goal of 55,000, and that February was right at our goal of 55,000. So again, adding this line in there can be very helpful. We can do other things. We can add a line style. We can add the width. We can shade an area. We can put data labels in. So we can turn the data labels on for that, and so we can turn it on there as well, and turn on the data label for our line that we created. So there's a lot of things that we can do in this, and you have to play around with it and see. We can add grid lines. We can do a zoom slider, which is kind of interesting, doing the zoom slider. So the zoom slider is, see, we can do it like this, and we can make it, and maybe we want to change the scale so that it only starts at maybe it only starts at 50,000. I don't know. But we can certainly change the way we show our visualization with this slider on there. In addition, again, we can change colors. We can create some transparency. We can create borders if we want to. So you can put a border around this if you want to. It puts a border around each one of your bars. I don't know, maybe something you want to do. So it has a lot of tools that we can use when we have our visualizations. We can click. Now, I want you to show you something else that we can do. If I click, for instance, on California, it's going to tell me for each month, for instance, how much California was. It's not going to tie in over here, but down here it's going to show me all the stores that were in California, and it shows me the total sales for California. If I clicked on South Carolina, it would show me I've got one store in South Carolina, store number 7. It shows me this, I've got these 6 employees. It shows me how much sales each employee had, and it tells me that had a total of $29 million in sales in South Carolina. If I went out to South Dakota, we've got one store and only had $10 million in sales there. We've got that's Massachusetts. We've got one store for $9 million in sales. We had in Kentucky. It shows you for Kentucky. Shows you the sales for each month, shows you that we had 5 employees and we had those spread over 2 stores. So a lot of information. When you click this, things are all related to each other, and you can sort of see how the different visualizations change for as you manipulate some of these other options. So that's sort of how we do setting up very simple visualizations, and how we can manipulate those visualizations with the different tools that are available in Power BI, whether it be our building our visual, our formatting our visual, or creating some further analyses within our visual. So you have to play around with those so you sort of get familiar with what each one of those is. But that's how you would manipulate your visuals. And by the way, if I go back and click on Kentucky up here, it would reestablish everything. If I clicked over here just on January, if I just wanted to look on January, I could do that. And it's going to change everything for January. And then if I click back on California, it's going to show me again all that stuff. So a great way to, I could look at just, for instance, the East region, or I could just look at the West region. I could do that either way, but I can click on those, and again, those things are all interactive, and they're all tied together and linked together. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to look at filters and slicers and how we build those into our Power BI visualizations so that we can decide what things we want to be active and what things we don't want to be active, what things we want to change, what things we might not want to change. So let's just move on to part 5 of our lecture, filters and slicers in Power BI.